Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm excited here to have my first guest of the new series here. We've got Jamie Miners. Jamie, thank you for joining me.
No worries, Ollie. Thanks for having me on, fella.
We're going to go through something slightly different. It's not just going to be health. It's going to be going through what do successful people actually do? What has made them successful? What are they doing to get to where they are, to sustain and grow from where they are? And hopefully people can get something from it. So we're going to have like some discussion here with regards to routine. We're going to have discussions about leadership, have hopefully some talk about health, and I'm going to hopefully learn some things as well. But Jamie, as I said, thank you for joining us. Do you want to just tell the guys a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Jamie Miners. I'm 31 years old. My main, I suppose, business and more commonly known for is my estate agency business, Miners and Brady. So I set that up in 2014, and we've now grown to Norfolk's highest selling agent. So I'll get that in there early.
It's award winning as well, right?
It is. Multitude of awards, mate. Yeah. But it's really grown well over the past eight and a half years, and as we've developed and grown as people, the team has significantly grown as well. And, you know, from looking back as a one-man band business and having sticky carpets and not being able to afford a proper phone system, we had 2 lines coming in from BT because we couldn't afford a phone system, and you know, now to a team of 65. So
that's crazy. And how many offices have you got?
5 branches currently, but we're expanding as we speak. So there'll be some more branches soon.
It's nuts. Like, you go all around Norfolk, and I think there's like a different like Caister branch. I think there's Yarmouth or whatever it is. It's literally just signs up everywhere. So we were going around. We were staying at Haven in Belton a couple of weeks ago, just having a weekend away, and like we're just going around. There was a couple of signs, and I said to my wife, "Got the guy that runs that on the podcast soon." So
Norfolk is teal, mate. Norfolk is teal.
Tell me about starting. Like, what were the first things that you used to come up with challenge-wise when you were starting, apart from the BT lines and stuff, which they're probably just about got fixed now, hopefully?
Just about. Look, there's a multitude of things that you're going to face as a business owner early on, and it's almost like you don't know what obstacles you're going to hit until you hit them. Mm-hmm. And I probably look at it as like running a marathon or 2 without having any training. You know, you're going into it blind, naive, you're going to hurt. Yep. There's going to be pain points at certain miles, and it's just about, can you keep going, and can you be resilient to keep overcoming those things? And for us, there was loads of things. It was managing cash flow, understanding how accounts and payroll worked, managing burnout, which obviously is very relevant for your industry. Yep. Managing staff, hiring staff. I mean, you name it, the problems are there, and you have to deal with each situation as it comes. So yeah, I think over the years, those problems still come up, but they're different challenges. And the ones that you overcame in the early years, you're so comfortable with that they're no longer really an issue when they come up.
And would you say, like, what would you say is the actual reason for the success you've had? Because you've had so many problems, the hurdles you've had to overcome. Like, what has been probably the number one biggest reason that you've succeeded so far?
Resilience.
Yeah?
I say it nearly always, resilience. Being resilient, making sure that if you do fall down on a problem or you make some big mistakes, how do you get up? How do you overcome it? How do you accept them? And how do you turn that mistake and problem into a plan and a solution moving forwards? Because no matter what industry you're going to be in, things are going to hit you hard. And for us, we had it. Big breakups or big issues with team members, or we had an issue with our lease in our building. And I mean, you name it, the problems just will come up. And you just have to be resilient. And if I look back to one particular day, we called it Black Friday, not that it was a positive Black Friday, but we lost 1/3 of all of our business on one day due to sales falling through on one day. And because we're a very small business, it only took, I think, 7 or 8 sales to fall through to be 1/3 of our business at the time. And when you're thinking about cash flow and you need that money coming in the next few months, when that all falls apart, naturally you're going to go into freak out, anxious, stress mode. So I think part of the success has been our ability to be resilient, get back on track, overcome those problems, find solutions, really get ourselves together and go again.
And what's the secret? Like you said, resilience there. When you do have those days, because inevitably, whenever you run a business, there are going to be like highs and lows. and it's just hoping that next low is better than your previous high, that sort of thing. I've had days where I've lost like 2 or 3 clients, or months where I've lost 2 or 3 clients because the way I work, yes, we have a subscription service, but my goal essentially is to get sacked as soon as possible, because they've got their health to where they need it to be, and they've got the ability to be sustainable with that and know what they want. So on those days, what's the first thing that you can remember you were doing where it was like when literally everything went to shit and you're like, wow, where do we go from here?
Yeah. Panic sets in.
Yep.
Freak out. You get in the car, maybe you go for a long drive, or you know, you text your other half or your business partner, and you know, you have those. I think it's okay to have that negative period. I think if you don't have it, you're going to suppress it, and you're not going to be able to let that out and at least talk out the problem you've got. Every business owner will face this in their business. It will be an issue. It will be a staffing issue, or an accounts issue, or a marketing issue, or a cyber issue, or a legal issue. Everyone's got them, right? So no point everyone saying that everything's fairy tale, perfect land. Everyone's got those issues. So it's just letting the frustration out, maybe for half an hour, but not too long. Sitting down and saying, okay, what's the plan? Because you actually kick the logical part of your brain in away from the chimp part of your brain. Mm-hmm. So if you go, what's the plan? You start thinking logically, you start looking at solutions, and you start looking at what you're actually going to do to resolve that particular thing.
Okay. And how do you know when you're overcoming that?
Things start making more sense, more rational sense. But I think, and it's very relevant to your industry, but you know, now I get in the gym. Mm-hmm. If I've got a bad period or moment or half a bad day, I'm cancelling my afternoon. If I've got stuff in my diary, that's getting moved. I'm into the gym. I'm either seeing Perfect or Bannatynes or wherever I currently go. And obviously for your services, your guys will hopefully come to you and get that stuff bashed out. But you go to the gym, you get a session out, and your head clears, and suddenly you're in a better position to be able to, make better decisions.
I find that when we speak to people, like there's this reactive mentality, like when it comes to health. We wait for something to happen before we do something about it. And it's, okay, like someone's got a back injury, they then go and do something about it, but they don't change the underlying reasons as to what got them that back injury. So they feel better because mm-hmm. they've rested. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly they go back to training the same way, and then they just ping their back out again. So there's constantly these ups and downs. So what would you say the biggest lesson you've learned from these, which has allowed you to implement something to make sure, you can never guarantee these things aren't going to happen again, but as solid as you know that these things aren't going to happen again?
Yes, the way I look at it is most entrepreneurs, and the ones that I coach now, business coaching, most entrepreneurs think the best way to run their business is to run it 24 hours a day mm-hmm. and neglect everything else. Now, in the early years, you do need to do that. You actually need to be obsessed, and you need to almost dismiss a lot of extra things, which is a harsh reality of friends and family and things that you don't, you need down the line. But right now you have 6 months maybe of just, I'm on this thing. But to be sustainable over a period of time, you need structure, you need systems, and you need to train regularly throughout the week and look after your sleep and look after your nutrition, your health, your water, all those basic principles. So when I sit down with a coaching client now, it's like, let's forget your business. What do you mean? I'll just forget your business right now. Let's look at you. How are you with your finances? How's your physical health? How's your mental health off the back of not reading or having some sort of yoga or mindfulness or walking out in nature? How's your relationship with your friends? How's your relationship with your family? And how's your relationship perhaps with your partner? Now, when we look at these things, we measure energy into them and I suppose energy back out of them. And I worked with one particular client where he was putting 10 out of 10 effort into his romantic relationship, but getting 1 or 2 back. He couldn't work out why he was so frustrated. Well, we did this exercise and suddenly he's realised that's a particular problem. But for many others, it is physical health.
Yep.
They don't train regularly. They have no routine in the morning to sort out that wake up of stress and natural anxiety that the body has. And they have no plan or systems to actually balance that and manage it. So I think getting back to the point, if you look after yourself properly and you get yourself in the right headspace and physical space, your business is in a safe position because at least you're sharp, hungry to attack those problems when they do kick up.
Have you always looked after yourself, or have you had to find yourself get to that burnout stage to do something more?
Definitely burnt out hard, learned the hard way. Yeah.
Wish you'd sorted it before?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Hindsight's
brainer.
a wonderful thing. It's I didn't come to this. Yeah.
Oh, no brainer. But I think for a lot of people, until you experience that particular thing yourself,
Yeah.
you hear about someone saying look after something. You're like, oh yeah, that doesn't affect me. It affects everyone. Just to what magnitude? How intense is your burnout, or how intense is perhaps the period you're going through? So for me, yeah, I absolutely, if I look back, that's one of the things I would change. I would have a much better, consistent routine. I wouldn't go out and drink as much as I did in my 20s, and I wouldn't burn the candle at both ends. I'd have rest days. I'd have good sleep. I mean, I look back now, and I'd probably be out 3-4 times a week getting hammered to overcome stress from work. Whereas now I probably drink once a month, and still I'm trying to cut that out. I'm actually trying to go teetotal, but that's a stumbling block for me. That's the challenge.
So why are you drinking?
Yeah, good.
I'm not going to go into coach mode.
No. Good question. It's something that I'm working hard on. Definitely, that is still a chink in the armor that I'm still trying to manage out. I think going from a consistent habit of drinking, let's just say 4 times a week, and it's a habitual process. I'm going through that process of almost staging all of that out. So yeah, we're getting there.
I think it is a process of doing it. So what I see with so many high achievers, shall we say, because you could be a high achiever and not a high performer when we look at health, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at previous burnout, you would have been a high achiever, and now you're becoming that high performer. And that so many times people will see we drink, we have loads of caffeine, maybe it's recreational drugs, maybe it's just the dopamine release or whatever it is we're addicted to. We always find that, okay, we're just going to cut it out, go cold turkey. But then we don't succeed. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with the gym. Like a lot of the clients that I have, I don't do one-to-one personal training anymore. It's just the functional medicine side of things and nutrition. So it's having places where I can send people if they need some actual one-to-one stuff, that sort of thing. But I see people that can't go to the gym once, or maybe they go twice and they can't go anymore. They come and they say, I want to go 5 times a week. I want to go and run a marathon and not done the training, as you say. And it's wanting to cut that all out. So we see more success doing it the way you're doing. And it's, as you say, working on the other reasons as to why you're drinking. Because if we're not working on those, like you said in the consultancy stuff, we'll talk about the growth consultancy in a bit, but you said with those clients, when we're looking at those underlying reasons and we can learn to love ourselves, mm-hmm. like we get so much further, right?
Of course.
So like in your eyes with that, what do you feel has made you the leader you are now? What makes a good leader, and how is this coming across with yourself? I'm going to move this chair.
That's fine. Well, it's still definitely something I'm always working on. And, I think being on other podcasts, people talk about, being the perfect leader. We're never the perfect leader. We've still got so much work to do. And there's still a lot of work that I have to do every time we level up our business. To get from a one-man band to managing 4 people to, let's just say, 65, you have to level up in that period. And if I look back, I physically couldn't run what we run now with the habits I used to have. It would be impossible.
Yeah,
we would never have got to that stage. So as the business has scaled, I've had to really level up my stuff every single time. And so have the people around me. And I look at the directors around me who have been promoted through the company, they've also had to level up hard. So I think having that growth mindset, shows for those people and for myself, getting in better habits, not perfect habits.
Do you feel a level of pressure as well that you're at the top and you've got all these staff underneath? There's 2 directors, you and...
There's 2 owners, myself and Alex. So we're
yeah.
50-50 owners.
Yep.
And then we've now got a few area directors and operations director who effectively get a profit share of the business performance.
So the people that are, their family are relying on success of the company. How do you deal with that pressure?
It's easier now than it used to be.
Yeah, I bet now you've got much more consistency.
Yeah, more consistency. You've got processes, you've got systems in place. Cash flow isn't an issue because back then cash flow is obviously a big problem in the first 3-4 years. So now we know what works. We know where we can spend money. We know who we can rely upon to do certain things. But you have to get to that stage. And, going back to the health issue, if I was right now going out 4 times a week drinking, I would feel more pressure because naturally I'm putting poison in my body. I'm getting poor quality sleep. Well, of course, I'm going to feel more stressed. So that, we all have a stress point. Let's just say 0 to 10, right? And I'm naturally quite a stressy person. So I wake up, let's just say a 6, right? But if I then got alcohol in me or no sleep, I might be even higher. I might even be like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Then by the time my baby starts screaming, I'm a 10. I go to work. One thing happens. Well, I've lost it.
Yeah.
Right. So my game really is, how do I limit that as much as possible? So for me, as I said, limit alcohol. In bed every single night, 10 o'clock without fail. Phone is no longer with me. Right. Everything turned off, out the way. So I can't just look at my phone next to me. It's out the way. Right. And I'm in bed at 10, lights are off, no TV. Mm-hmm. So me and my other half, 10 o'clock every single night. Whereas before, you watch a film, Netflix is on, it's 11:30, you have
Justify another episode,
yeah.
And FOMO kicks in.
You know, you're in bed at 11:45, you're up at 6 because your kid's screaming. Well, you've had, not enough sleep, so you're going to feel ratty. And that's not always perfect, because unfortunately, you have kids, they might be up in the night once, twice, and, it still breaks that routine. But if you can manage what you can try and manage, you're going to be in a better position to manage the stress that then happens. And every day there are situations running a business. We're looking after roughly 4,500 homes a year. Think of all the things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So the phone's going to pop up with something, and you've just got to be in the right headspace to manage it and look after it as best you can.
And when you look back to when you burnt out, what were the signs? Because there must have been some signs. Say,
I think my hair started falling out.
Yeah, and that would have been what?
I had a big patch of my hair falling out.
So you're 31. That would have been.
I was 20, roughly 5, 6, maybe.
That's crazy.
Literally, bald patch in the side of my head started coming through.
That's crazy. Any other signs?
I mean, there's all sorts of things you can look at. I mean, your habits are signs. Waking up so bad that you can barely get into your own company. I mean, that's a bad enough sign to say this is an issue here. Something needs to change. And, I'm very open about my past and, the mistakes I've made. And I'm just very fortunate that I was still able to build a business, keep moving forwards, build teams around it. And I'm fortunate now that I'm out of those burnout periods. I now don't burn out, but I used to really hard. Really, really poor sleep, poor takeaways. As I said, poor alcohol, partying at the weekends, and just your whole body deteriorates.
I'm going to use this as a bit of research here, because ideal clients and things like that. What would you tell that person to get them to kick them into gear? This will probably appear on my landing page, by the way.
That's fine, Ollie. You have to relate it back to your why.
Yep.
So the first thing we look at, especially when I look at my growth consultancy clients, is what's your why? What do you actually want the outcome to be? Is it a Ferrari? Is it holidays forever? Is it a £1 million house that you never have to pay bills on? Whatever it may be, right? Is it just retiring your parents, all right? And there's no right or wrong answer. If you want a Ferrari, no worries, that's what you want. But if you do want that, let's reverse engineer those steps and let's get back to where we are today. And if you want, let's just say a Ferrari, you need 200 grand-ish. How do you get 200 grand in your business? And we work it back. We get back to the point of where they are today, and we say, look, by you going out, drinking, eating the wrong foods, not training, not getting sleep, not looking after yourself, not looking after your finances, not seeing your friends, your family properly, and looking after your romantic relationships, you're not going to get the things that you just said you want. Mm-hmm. So which one do you want to choose? Do you want to choose a bit of discipline, right? Or to get the thing you want? Or do you just never want to have all these things that you just told me you want? Which is it? Both routes are hard, but one gets you a nice thing at the end that you want, the other one doesn't. The other one gets you regret and pity, and you feel sorry for yourself. Before you know it, you're in your 50s, you're still working, you haven't done what you wanted to do, and you're looking back thinking what could have been.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to ask yourself, really, when you dive deeper into the whys and you start, you get the emotional connections with those whys.
Definitely.
As you say, a Ferrari isn't the reason. It's the why do you want that Ferrari. And as you say, it could just be that you want a fast car. You want to be able to go out and just enjoy a ride, those sorts of things. I always wanted a BMW because my dad had one when he passed away. And then you get it and you think, this isn't the thing I wanted necessarily, because there's other things to make me happy as well. So when you ask that and they talk about, is it when you speak to yourself in a goal sense, like you would say to a toddler, and they'd be like, why, but why, but why? And you ask why 5 or 6 times. And we do that with health, and no one wants to lose weight. When you look at it, that's the thing they think is going to make them happy. But actually, why do you want to lose weight? Actually, because I've seen the way my wife looks at some celebrity or something, and then I've seen like our sex life has gone really poor.
That's
sort
the
of
worst,
thing.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
like
You're watching something on TV and someone really, good looking comes on. Your other half goes, "Oh wow!" And you suddenly the next day you're doing an extra 20 press ups just so you.
Well, that's the thing actually.
Good.
This happened to me when I was working with professional athletes. So
No way.
2016, I got married, and it was 1st of May. My 30th birthday was the 21st of May. That was an awesome day out. We got the FA Cup final tickets, United v Crystal Palace, and we won. But literally, I'd got into the worst shape that I'd been in. It was planning a wedding. I had Achilles injuries. I was working with these. I had someone I was consulting with in the Rio Olympics, someone that had won the Ultraman World Championships, someone in the Tour de France, and it was awesome. Like people at the creme de la creme. And I was just out of shape because I'd basically burnt out my body whilst working like with professional athletes and with entrepreneurs, burnt out my own body. And I'd got probably like 250 pounds, whatever that was. And first off, we got the proofs for our wedding photos, and I hate them. My face is just ballooned up. I was talking to to a photographer about them the other day. But then we watched Deadpool, and it was like when Ryan Reynolds, before he has that acid pool thing, whatever it is he falls in, and then my wife was like, "He looks hot," and I was just like, "No, that can't happen." But I've done so many posts about how Deadpool got me in shape.
Nice.
And I was literally triggered for so long to watch anything with Ryan Reynolds in now. Love him now, because like 26th of September, which is when we had our honeymoon and my wife's birthday, I dropped like 30, 40 pounds. Because you just need that kick, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at yourself like, one, I wasn't being authentic. And two, as soon as you get your wife say something like that, or your partner say something like that, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So now, what would you say your why is? Where you're at?
From a business sense or a health sense?
Both.
For me, I'm really fortunate that I'm now in a position where financially I didn't think I'd ever be at this stage.
That's good.
So I'm now in a really fortunate position where right now finances I don't worry about. That's out the way. And it's now a case of fulfillment for me.
Okay.
Which a lot of people I'm working with to try and get them to understand as well. Because a lot of people are like, when you just keep trying to earn loads of money, well, you can do that. But for me personally, it's now about fulfillment. So I'm really proud of what we've built at Miners and Brady. We're still growing. It's still going to grow. We're still growing our lettings, our sales, our branches, and we're still hiring amazing people. And for me now, it's about growing the people within the business more so than the business. If I grow them, they'll grow the business almost without me. So that's something that I'm really proud and really, I suppose, excited by, because those people, for me, are like brothers and sisters. They're like the best humans I've ever met. So watching them grow, watching them earn more, watching them be able to upscale their houses and go on nicer holidays, and we're now taking all our managers to Wimbledon.
That is awesome.
Like, just fun things like that. That for me is fulfillment, being able to provide for great people around me. My son's almost 2 years old. So for me personally, it's about making sure that I'm the best father I can be, the best partner I can be to my fiance. And as I said, going back to that time where I would have gone out loads, been hungover, been stressed, probably resented my son because I was so hungover. Now it's about keeping in really good habits and knowing that I'm now an example to that little being. And I'm nowhere near perfect. I've still got so much work I need to do, but I'm on that journey of trying to make it better. And that for me is a huge why.
Are you seeing your son at 2 years old? Are you seeing him literally absorb what you do like a sponge?
Yeah.
And that goes with bad habits as well. When people see that, right? I have people say, "Why don't my kid eat vegetables?" Well, do you? No, start eating it and then it will. But on that note, so many people use their kids as an excuse. I can't do this because I can't sleep because my kid's waking me up and stuff. This has been you're growing a success. This has been one of the most successful periods, I assume, in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. How have you managed that whilst having a newborn and going into toddlers?
Everything's hard.
Yeah.
Okay? In life. That's how I see it. If you wake up and you think the world's rosy, you're living in the wrong place. Everything is hard, but you've just got to choose what's the right hard for you. Because, and we look at finances, right? Being poor is hard. Getting to a situation where you're wealthy is also hard, right? Being overweight, not being able to get up the stairs is hard, physically hard,
Yeah.
right? But it's also hard to get in the gym, but I know which one I'd rather have. And this goes for everything, right? Having a relationship, I find hard, right? Because you've got to give so much and it's not always your way and you have to have this balance. But equally, I'd rather do that and go through that hard process and have a lovely relationship at the end of it rather than have the tough period of being alone, miserable by myself. So it's just choices, isn't it, Ollie? Everything is hard. Everything we do is difficult, but I'm just going to choose the difficult that gives me the best outcome.
And I think there's stress perception as well with that. It's like, if you're choosing the hard that is going to give you the best outcome and you're expecting it to be hard, but you know there's a better outcome afterwards, the perception from the stress becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
So
And I'm now at a situation, weirdly, where I love it.
yeah,
I actually crave that chaos and I crave a bit of stress and I crave a bit of, whether it's the ice bath or a really difficult challenge, because everything else is managed around it. So I can push out those comfort zones and do those things. We're now looking at opening more branches. Everyone's like, why would you do that? Housing market's facing some difficulties. Interest rates are rising. A massive economic downturn. Why would you push the boundaries? Well, if I don't do that, I feel like I'm almost dying.
Yeah.
So I have to keep going and keep chasing because everything else is, managed fairly well.
but it's chasing in a way where it's not chasing the dopamine, it's chasing just
The challenge.
the challenge.
Yeah.
I was speaking to the guy we spoke about earlier, and as his growth for his business, as we said, he's gone ridiculous, but he's still chasing growth for the business, but not the dopamine rush, which allows you to burn out in the first place, right? Because I used to have that. You get a new client on, you get this client on board, and you chase that, and you get the onboarding session. Great, right? I've seen the Stripe payment, I've seen the PayPal payment, or whatever it is. When's the next one and the next one? But actually, now for me, fulfillment is getting the results for those clients.
Mm-hmm.
So and them absolutely loving the results. So on that note of results, we've said about the growth consultancy. So tell us about this growth consultancy, Norfolk, that you're now setting up. This is different from Miners and Brady.
Yeah, totally separate. So Miners and Brady is my baby. It'll always be my baby. As I said, I set that up in 2014, so it's roughly 8.5 years. It's like having kids, right? It's always going to be my son, always going to be my child. But for me, I've seen other business owners really struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And they've struggled with a multitude of things again, whether it's finances, whether it's keeping their head straight, whether it's bouncing ideas, whether it's sticking at a plateau on growth, not knowing how to drive new sales, not knowing how to hire people and train people. And I'm speaking to these people, and it almost fell off its own back where people were asking me to mentor them. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to mentor you. And we sort of broke it down and looked at it, and I helped one person out, then another. Before you knew it, I loved it. And the buzz that I was helping someone like-minded, going through a challenge that for me was easy now to look back and deal with. And it sort of developed from there. So the website's now being built. I've got 6 clients, and yeah, it's awesome. Different industries, great people, and they've all got different issues that need some attention, but the results I'm seeing with them is just amazing.
So what are the most common things people are struggling with? The number one thing, say.
Cool. Tricky, but confusion, self-doubt.
So that's what was just in my mind when I was thinking of it. Like self-confidence.
Self-doubt, self-esteem. I think everyone looks at them in their circles as the cool entrepreneur, but actually they're eating themselves away at night. And the best phrase of that is it's lonely at the top.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who to turn to. They don't know how to bounce ideas. They're not sure if their ideas are sane or if they're crazy ideas, and they're not sure which turn to take. So they waste brain space thinking about it, running around in their head like a hamster wheel, not getting anywhere. When actually, if they've got me on their side, quick call, 7 days a week, taking calls on holiday on the WhatsApp, got this thing, is it crazy? No, brilliant idea. Let's look at it logically. Great, go ahead. And suddenly they've got someone to quickly bounce those things with. And, if I'm not there or someone's not there to help them, how many days they spend on that particular problem, eating away at their head, not sleeping at night. What's the value of no sleep? What's the value of not making a decision? Well, decision paralysis, you're going to literally burn out just from that. And that's without factoring your health, all the things we mentioned earlier. Decision making is a big problem for a lot of people. And having someone else who's been there, done it, seen the warts and all, just to bounce some ideas off is, there's huge value in that.
I think there's also the rabbit hole of going down Google for it as well. Like, I see that with health, and someone is like, I Googled this, and like, am I dying? Like, no, you're not. But like, we'll do it with blood test results, and they'll see things that are slightly out of range, or like, and then they'll Google each one, and you look at it, and they think they're so overwhelmed with how to fix it. But it's having me there for the health stuff, like you've got they've got you there for the business stuff. That actually all these 10 different things are fixed by doing this 1 or 2 things. So we're not going to get overwhelmed with that. So talking of that, like confidence, imposter syndrome, have you ever dealt with that?
Yeah, you do as you keep scaling. You should, in theory, always have a bit of imposter syndrome, because if you're growing, you're always stepping into uncharted territory that you're not necessarily that comfortable with perfectly. So we look at the growth consultancy, right? For me, Miners and Brady is like bread and butter. I could do my job literally with my eyes closed. It's autonomous. I'll be on the phone doing stuff. I don't even know what I've done. I've just done it because it's autonomous. Whereas business coaching and mentoring, I love it, but I'm still quite new to it. And I'm actually learning how to deliver the things that I think are right to these particular people in the right way. So there's a little bit of imposter syndrome there, because I haven't yet proven to myself that I'm the best at doing that particular thing. How do you solve it? Well, you do the thing you say you're going to do. You actually add value. You get some positive feedback or even some negative feedback and work on it. And you prove to yourself that you've done that thing. And we talk about it a lot in this room about the Alex Hormozy quote of outwork yourself out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're going to have that, so you might as well outwork it, and you might as well prove to yourself that what you say you are is what you are. It's a bit like you. If you're training people and you've got imposter syndrome coaching, I don't know, some athletes, let's say, and you don't work hard with them, well, you are an imposter because you haven't delivered on the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
But if you go and deliver and you outwork all these doubts that are creeping in, and you create a plan for them and create action, and they get a benefit out of it, you've proven to yourself that you are what you said you were.
I think any consultancy sort of thing, coaching, one of my mentors said to me that when I was dealing with some imposter syndrome last year, just look at your testimonials. You'll have so many testimonials from Miners and Brady, from clients and stuff, but you'll get more and more testimonials with the growth consultancy, right? But I don't even think it has to be this like testimonial of someone that has actually used your service one-to-one. Like, you go to a networking event, you've got mates and stuff, and they look up to you because you've given them this little bit of advice, and things just, they start to click in their world because you've given them that bit of advice. So on that note, we've mentioned about the alcohol and looking at getting to teetotal. What's something that you're working on improving?
That's definitely one. That's a huge one, definitely. That is something that I look at as, if I look at all the biggest mistakes I've made in my life, 99.9% have come from being drunk, right? So if I look back at that and I think, well, okay, well, logically, if I want to remove all of that period of time where I make such bad mistakes and the bad side of you comes out, if I just get rid of that, then in theory, all my biggest mistakes should no longer happen. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that to me is something I'm definitely working on and trying to manage out, and it's working over time. The improvements are massive, but I always want to be the best at everything.
Yep.
So I always want to make sure that there's the extra 1%, 2%, 3% improvements that can be made. Physically, training harder. I've been consistent, which is good, but now it's about optimizing that and improving diet, really, and making that even better. But again, that's been improved via alcohol intake and sleep. And then from a leader perspective, making sure that I can really scale up Miners and Brady still, drive that forwards, make sure everyone's looked after, because you're right, I've got a responsibility to look after, in a couple of years, what will be 100 people.
That's crazy.
Right? We're not that far off.
Yeah.
A few more branches, growing our lettings team. Before you know it, you're 100 people.
Do you ever get them all together and actually just it hits you how many people that is?
Yeah, we did an event. I think it was last September or the year before, maybe, and we got everyone together in this room, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, everyone's here.
It's kind of hard to fathom that amount.
It was crazy, yeah. It was crazy. When you see the wage bill you have to pay each month, that's when you know.
Yeah, and like the tax and stuff like that. This is one of the things that someone said to me, like, start to learn to love paying tax because it means you're earning a lot.
You don't ever love paying tax. I can tell you that for free.
I still haven't managed to get my head around it. And then when you go VAT registered and stuff, and I'm like, what am I paying that for? talking about the alcohol thing, something that I've got my own way of dealing it with other people. I don't drink myself, don't like the taste of it, which has been a blessing.
Sure.
When I used to DJ, I used to be the one that was driving. And
Nice.
I'd have it then. I remember days going into music college and you're still hungover, drinking Red Bull to stay through the day and everything. But just don't like the taste now, so it's handy. And sometimes I'll try and be like, maybe it's changed in taste. No, it hasn't. But what's the perception of your social circle been like when you've lowered the alcohol or cut out alcohol, when you've said no drinking and stuff?
Yeah, it's tricky because you get the same questions. What's wrong with you? What do you mean? What are you doing that for? And I think I say it's my other half, but I think society will change and we'll look back on it like smoking. We'll look back on it and go, wow, as if we used to put poison in our body. Can we believe that? And I think there'll be other routes that we go down and almost do a full circle of maybe I think it was 60s or 70s where more herbal plant-based medicine stuff might kick back in and people go towards those part of the world rather than the alcohol part of the world. And I think there'll be a change. And I think it is coming. But I also think that careful what I say here.
You're right.
I think a lot of governments like the fact that they can control a wide population by being hungover or by drinking or by being in
Junk,
that
everything.
Yeah, because they're then so anxious they can't step out against some of the things that happen in the world.
Yeah, we're totally on the same.
That's a bold thing to go down from our business
but
stuff.
We're totally literally on the same frame there. But
yeah.
I do find that and that alcohol and caffeine are the two drugs you have to justify not taking.
Yeah.
And I look at things like caffeine, and yes, I'll have caffeine. I love coffee and stuff. It's when we have it. We'll get into morning, evening routine in a second. But caffeine was on the World Anti-Doping Association's banned list at a certain amount from 2004. And you think that drug was banned as a performance-enhancing drug, and people are still normalising taking it. And when you say to them, one of the things I have with people if they're struggling with their sleep is let's not look at the evening as much, let's look at the morning as well, and not having caffeine in the first 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they look at you and just like literally you've just kicked them in the balls or something. Just how can we survive without caffeine? Like, come on, like it's an hour and a half later than when you would normally take it. Just get up and you'll see where your body is at. And even to the point of like, if you want to see how stressed your body is, try stopping having caffeine. And it's crazy how much we rely on that. So it's interesting when we look at what the government will allow. Well, we saw that with lockdowns, with having off licenses open and closing gyms. Let's not get this into a political thing, but
I still like caffeine, and I
like it.
I don't get to a point where I'll neck a double espresso Costa, and I make any bad decisions. Mm-hmm. So for me, I actually have no reservations about my caffeine. I actually enjoy I never used to drink coffee until September, and I actually enjoy having a coffee.
But why are you having it for? You said enjoyment. Yeah?
I enjoy a bit of a buzz.
It's not.
I enjoy a bit of a buzz.
People say like caffeine is using energy from tomorrow to fix today.
Yeah.
You're not using it for plugging energy.
Yeah.
Maybe on the odd day. We will all do it on the odd day, but regularly using it, you're using it for enjoyment, right?
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah. I don't go to it. Let's say I don't know. I had a coffee before here, had an hour spare on my laptop. Yeah, I'll just get a little buzz. Yeah. There's no need it to have to come in here. But I get what you're saying. The early on in the day, and that goes back to my stress point of 0 to 10. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say you're at 6, right? Well, the caffeine isn't going to lower it, is it? You're going to feel even more jittery and excited, whatever it may be, because the excitement and anxious part of the brain are in the same part. So you're not going to calm anything down. So for me, I now neck a pint of water or a pint glass of water, try and steer clear for as long as I can. I'm probably only an hour of the morning not touching it yet. But it used to be early on, cup of tea straight away.
Some of it's habit as well, right?
So we're getting there. We're getting there slowly.
Yeah, and like to be honest, like with me, it's like hour and a quarter, hour and a half. But it's the people that are really struggling with sleep, we'd say, because of the adenosine receptors. Like we can go into that. Like I'd go into it another time. But
mate, it's my kid for me. The caffeine's irrelevant. Yeah. Getting him to sleep is that's that's the killer, Ollie. Can you fix that as part of your performance coaching?
Well.
You can't.
I'm working on that bit.
Can't.
I've got a couple of clients who I'm actually like working with their kids, but I'm not a specialist with kids.
That's fine,
it's crazy when you look at that stuff. So talking of routine, like we said, hour of waking up, probably caffeine or something. What is your ideal morning and evening routine, and what is your actual morning and evening routine?
Yeah, so in an ideal world, what I would do is I would do my loop of walk, which is about 30, 35 minutes, headphones in, by myself in the countryside, out the way. I'd come back, I'd have a shower. I'd probably, for my ideal routine, is get back in gym gear, then get into the gym, for me, thrash out a session, then tackle work. The reality of what probably happens more often than not, up early, neck a pint, out the house to go to the gym or a session or, whatever you decide to do, running, bang that out first. But I'll then hit caffeine at the gym or at the session. So I'll nick the pint of water, probably be 45 minutes, then hit my caffeine, then train. But I still feel way better than not thrashing out a session early on. I have to hit cardio early almost every day or I really struggle. And interestingly, my business partner, Alex, he's a really keen runner. He's like two people with a 10K in the morning or no 10K. And he used to come in, and he'll probably watch this, and I say, I ran your 10K today then. You could tell from body language. So he now runs every day before work to make sure he's, in optimal health as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a 10K if people are watching this and actually thinking, like, need to do a 10K every morning.
I forgot that was there, to be fair.
So did I, until I was there. It's like, but like, literally, like, going out and that's one of the things we look at, like, when I speak with people and we say about going into the morning routine, is light exposure, exercise, and hydration in the first hour. It could just be walking the dogs or something, like whatever it is.
It
like,
brings this down.
Yeah.
You go.
You get more capacity.
100%, because your stress, you go through the science of it, but I break it down from 0 to 10. It's so simple. I'm sure there's far more complex ways to explain it. But if you can bring that 6 down, from a walk down to 5, sunlight down to 4, hydration to 3.5,
yeah.
When you then get to work, you're not at a 10. You can deal with the difficult clients or your colleague you don't really like, or the fact you couldn't get a parking space. You're in a much better position to deal with that.
I look at things like how much would that 10% extra energy bring me? And if we look at it on a financial side of things, you look at if you had 10% extra clients or something like that, or that sort of thing, makes so much difference when we have that. So, that's pretty powerful. Okay. The last question, and we've spoken about the alcohol side of things. I think this is a question I'm going to ask to pretty much everyone that comes on.
Yeah. Do I want to pause this? Is it dodgy?
No, we've said about it earlier because we changed the word in it.
That's
but
fine.
like, not necessarily alcohol, but what's the one thing that you're implementing that's going to make you a better partner and dad? I suppose it could be the alcohol.
Time management in a really efficient way. So I used to be the kind of person that would wing most of my time. Impulsively do that. I just wasn't a very organised person until I ran a business, until, we had to scale. I was the most unorganised person when I set a business up, right? But over growing this business and then looking at our lettings business and then looking at other things we're soon to open up, which you'll soon, see unfold, and obviously the growth consultancy and my baby and my fiance and my friends, how do you do it? You have to manage your time unbelievably well. So for me, blocking key parts out of my diary, and now I block everything out within reason. I block out my gym stuff.
Yep.
I block out seeing friends. I block out seeing my partner, or even now block out seeing my boy, right? I block out really key parts of the diary because they're the vital things that are going to keep me in the right headspace and keep me moving forward. They're my non-negotiables. And if they're looked after, everything else will be okay. Then I fill in around it. Can I see that extra client? Can I go to that branch to train that person? Can I help out with that particular event? But you have to prioritize the things that are going to keep you as a human balanced in how you need to be. And you don't have to have all of those things equally balanced. You just got to find where your balance is. And it may be that for you, seeing your family isn't as important as training or as your partner. And that's okay. But you've just got to understand where you are on that scale and book the things in that actually to you are important. And I know we're short of time here, but I did this exercise at a training session with Miners and Brady. We train loads of stuff. We don't just train on selling houses. We train on all this sort of stuff all the time. And one of the key things I asked the room to do was separate 2 lists. And one is things I like doing, and another is things I don't like doing. And I asked them to write down all the things and the things that I do but I don't like doing, and all the things that I like doing. And it was amazing how many people were doing too much of the wrong side habitually and not enough of the good side. And those things were so simple, like seeing my grandma. You know, one lady in the room said, that makes me really happy. I said, when did you last see her? 2 months ago. So, well,
Wow.
you know, if you saw her last weekend, would you be happier? Of course I would. Well, why not book it in rather than getting hammered out on a Saturday? You know, and there was like one guy said, oh, I love going to Cromer Beach. When did you last go? 6 months ago. I said, well, how would it make you feel if you went now? Oh, it'd be amazing. I said, well, it's literally a drive up the road. So it's identifying what do we actually want to do, what do we not want to do, and what are we habitually stuck into. So for me, that's the key thing, prioritizing time and actually putting it into practice.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, Jamie, I appreciate you getting the time here to,
worries,
to
mate.
come and share this, and hopefully people have got something from this. So with the growth consultancy, well, if they want to sell their house as well, they'll buy a house. But they can obviously go to Miners and Brady's. We can put the links on. But with the growth consultancy, how do people get in touch with you with regards to that?
Yeah, cool. So ultimately, I'm looking after business owners, people that are looking to grow their business. So if you're looking to fix a big, nasty problem and things aren't looking good, I'm probably not the right person for you. You know, I'm not a troubleshooter, really. I'm the person that's going to help you scale your business from 3, 4, 5, 10 people up to double, treble that. That's where I come into play. So they can find me just at the moment on my own Instagram, which is at Jamie Miners, or on LinkedIn, Jamie Miners. Website is being built in the background. Or they can email me to hello@the-growth-consultancy.co.uk, and we can talk about how I can hopefully help support their growth.
Sweet. Thank you once again.
Legend. Thank you, Ollie. Cheers, mate.